Hello there everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Passioknit Kelsie and I am a full-time crochet artist, designer, seller, woman person. Hello. Because I do all of these things, I have this YouTube channel, I post everywhere, I get asked lots of questions, and among those questions, one that sticks out the most because I get it all the time is either how do you crochet that fast, or how do you crochet without looking? Both are totally valid questions, and I'm here today to try to answer those for you. So we are going to do a deep dive look into exactly how I crochet. I'm going to try to show you exactly how I'm holding my hook, I'm holding my yarn, going through the stitches, and just all of that stuff. So let's get into it. So I have been crocheting since I was 13. I'm currently 24, almost 25. So I have been crocheting for 11 years continuously. Since I started at the age of 13, I was hooked. And I've been crocheting ever since then. I loved it. I started my business right whenever I turned 18, I believe. And that's just what I've been doing ever since, really. I post videos of me crocheting everywhere, pretty much. YouTube, of course, hello, subscribe. This is my channel. I also post on Instagram, Facebook occasionally, and TikTok. TikTok is really where I got my foot in the door. I was gaining views, gaining followers, I was crocheting my little butt off, and along with that, a lot of questions came in, especially because I would be posting these kinds of videos where I would say, basically like trying to crochet as much as I could within a certain time frame. So I would be crocheting a lot in a little amount of time, and so people have wondered, how are you doing it that fast? I also post videos like this on my YouTube channel or just on my TikTok where I will be staring into the camera while crocheting something with my hands, and I am not looking down. I did there, but I don't look down very often, and that has also prompted questions like, how the heck are you crocheting without looking at your work? And that is understandable. It took me quite a few years of practice to get to this point. So today I'm going to try to help you and give you the best tips that I possibly can. Okay, now that I've got a nice little swatch going here, I want to switch over to our overhead camera because the first thing that I want to talk about today is your hand placement. So first I'm going to talk about your right hand. I'm right-handed, so I hold my crochet hook in the right hand. And whenever I go to hold my crochet hook, I have a clover or more hook. It has a little flat surface right here, but most hooks have a sort of flat surface on some side or the other. It should be right in line with your hook. So the flat part should be right where the tip of your hook is. And I put my thumb right here on the flat part, where the thumb pad is, and then my pointer finger is gonna go on my hook. It's actually gonna stay on my yarn loop, and it will pretty much travel up and down the hook area with my yarn. This is a really good tip whenever it comes to speed, because this can help a lot with controlling your yarn, making sure it doesn't fall off your hook and stuff like that. Okay, so if you have your thumb set and your pointer finger set, then the rest of your fingers will kind of just fall in line. I am pretty light on my hold. I am kind of just on my fingertips. I never hold my hook like this. That is just, it's a bit clunky and not great for speed. So, thumb on the thumb pad, pointer finger on your yarn. Your pointer finger, like I said, needs to be able to slide all the way up, so I would just leave it up here and then let the rest of your fingers fall in. It should be kind of just right on the other side, and this is right on the tips of my fingers. Sometimes my pinky will kind of curl around the end of my hook just a little bit, but still it should be quite easy to roll your hook around like this. Now, as far as your left hand goes, we are going to tension our yarn. I tension my yarn by just going over my pointer finger and that's it. I don't tension my yarn very much. I don't like to wrap my yarn. I feel like that slows me down. Maximum speed opportunity. All I do is wrap it over my pointer finger, and then the rest of it just kind of falls in with my work. Sometimes on specific yarn types, if I want a little bit of extra tension, I will put it over my pinky as well. But that's it. That is all the tension you are ever going to need, really. Now, my pointer finger is going to stay up. The rest of my fingers are going to close around my project. The most important finger on my left hand is going to be this one, which happens to be the middle finger. This is very important because if you want to crochet without looking, you are going to need to feel your way through the stitches because you can't see where they are, so you need to feel where they are. This is really important with the middle finger because this is going to run along the back of your work right here, and it's going to feel where the stitches are exactly while you're going. But more specifically, it's going to be feeling the tip of your hook whenever it pushes through. See that? I can feel it going through. It feels right. I know that it's in the right place. So then I go, I do my single crochet. And then it will slide down to the next spot. Going to feel my hook going through, move it to the next one, do my single crochet. I'm going to do a couple stitches so that you can watch and compare. Pointer finger is on the yarn the entire time, and my middle finger is running along the back of my stitches the entire time as well. One more thing that is very important on the right hand is the rotation of our hook. This comes in handy anytime we want to grab the yarn. Whenever I am starting my work, my hook is pointing down towards me. Go through the stitch. And while I'm going through the stitch, I rotate my hook upwards. So it's pointing away from me. And I do this just by moving my fingers. My hook just rocks back and forth on my thumb. So it starts pointing down, going towards you, goes through, and it gets rotated up. Now I'll wrap my yarn, and then while I'm pulling through, the hook gets rotated back down towards me. And you see what that does is it catches the yarn that we just wrapped. It catches it and it puts it inside of the hook. So now it is much less likely to fall off your hook while you're pulling through your stitches and moving at a fast rate. So if you're moving upwards, your hook should be turning up, grabbing our yarn. If you are moving down, your hook should be turning down. See? So start with your hook down, go through the stitch, rotate up, grab your yarn, rotate back down, pull through, rotate up, grab your yarn, rotate down, pull through. This is something that I myself didn't even realize that I was doing over time until I slowed down my crochet work and watched it and realized that it's just something, a habit that I had developed over time to kind of just help me not drop my yarn. So, towards you, up, back down, up, back down. There you go. See if you can catch the rotation while I do the next few single crochet stitches. I'm going to try to show you from a better angle, I guess, but I just want to emphasize that my thumb is doing most of the work. It's just going to start like this, and all it does is move up, and that rotates my hook. The rest of my fingers are also helping with this by also rotating, but it's just a very slight movement, but it is noticeable. See how my thumb like flicks up and then goes back down? Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. I think that most crocheters rotate their hook in some way while they're crocheting. I just don't know if a lot of people realize that they're doing it. And if they do, I see a lot of people rotating with their entire wrist. I just use my thumb. Honestly, it's quicker and it's better for your wrist. So basically at this point, if you would like to crochet exactly like me and increase your speed, I would just practice the hand holds. Practice rotating your hook up and down. Practice keeping your pointer finger on your crochet loop the entire time. The only time it really slips off is whenever I am pushing the loop off of my hook to make the stitch. But really it kind of just stays on the whole time. It might slip off like a little bit, but generally it is in the area. Also practice leaving your middle finger right here on the back so that you can feel the end of your hook when it's coming through like this. Maybe we can get a back view. Middle finger right here. Normally I just kind of catch it right on the tip of my middle finger going through. Now, as the saying goes, practice makes perfect. So before you even try to crochet without looking, I would just practice this method, especially feeling out your stitches. Well, was that interesting to you? Did you learn anything about the way that I crochet, about the way that you crochet? Were there things that you have been doing that you didn't even realize? Are there things that you're gonna take from my technique and you're gonna adapt into yours? Did you hate it or did you love it? So moving on to another question that we have is, how do you crochet without looking? And I will just say that a huge part of doing that is building up trust within yourself and your technique. So first of all, having a solid technique and doing the same stitch over and over and over and over again is super important. Crocheting without looking is going to be very hard for somebody that is a beginner, somebody that hasn't been crocheting very long, somebody that doesn't necessarily have consistent stitches or consistent tension. It's definitely something that I would start thinking about, but I would say it's going to be really hard to do unless you are already very good and consistent with your crochet. But once you've reached that point, all you really have to do is try it. Pick up your crochet project if you want, or if you don't want to screw it up, just make yourself a little swatch and go ahead and crochet out to the first 2-3 rows just so that you have a nice solid base, and then start doing stitches without looking down at your hands. Very silly, I know. It's like, how do I crochet without looking? Well, just don't look at it. But like, that's really the answer. You just have to try. So I would not do it with the first stitch in the row, because that one is always a little fiddly, the first stitch and the last stitch. But once you've got the first stitch done, or maybe the first 2 stitches, then go ahead and stop looking at your work, close your eyes, squeeze them tight, and see if you can go into your next stitch and do a single crochet unassisted. Now, open your eyes, look at your work, and analyze. Did you do a single crochet, first of all? Is the stitch right? Yes. Great. Second of all, is it in the right place? Did you go through the correct stitch? Did you skip a stitch? If you did skip a stitch, it means that you moved over a little bit too far, so you're probably going to have to crochet closer to your last stitch than you thought. If it is actually in your last stitch, if you just did 2 single crochets in the same spot, you didn't go far enough. And if it's in the exact right spot, then good job, you did great. And another thing to check is make sure you are going through both loops. You know, did you just do the front loop? Did you just do the back loop? Did you go through both loops like you're supposed to? And just check all of that. Make sure you did it good. And then if you did, do it again. And if you didn't, do it again as well. But like, pull it out and then do another one. Something that I found helpful whenever I was doing this for the first time, I was just trying it out while I was watching anime with subtitles, is of course having my middle finger along the back of my stitches so that I can feel when my hook is coming out, and I can kind of feel it go through the right stitch. Most of the time it's going to feel like a bit of a tight squeeze. There's not necessarily going to be a resistance, but there should be like a little pop. You know, it just feels right whenever it goes through that right spot. Usually if your hook is catching on something, you're not necessarily in the right spot. It should just go through nicely. And if you aren't sure what that feels like, just put your hook over the spot and push your hook through and kind of just feel it with your hands. What does it feel like on your hook? What does it feel like on your finger on the back of your work? And just kind of like feel that. That feels good, that feels right. If your hook is stuck on something, if it's not going through, if you have to push through, unless your tension is extremely tight and that's normal for you, then you're probably getting caught on a yarn somewhere, and you should look at your work and kind of fix it. Another thing that I do if I am not looking and I'm having a little bit of trouble finding the next hole is I will have the back of my work with my middle finger so I can feel my stitches, but I will also use my thumb on my left hand here, and I will run it along the front of my stitches so I can feel kind of the groove of where that next stitch is. And then I will put my hook in from there. I don't really do that anymore. I don't really do it all the time at all because I understand the spacing of the stitches from practicing so much, but whenever I was definitely first starting to crochet without looking, I definitely used my thumb to kind of just feel out where the next stitch was. There's going to be a lot of trial and error. There's going to be some really good runs, there's gonna be some mistakes, and that just happens. But basically you just have to keep trying. So after you've done your first stitch and you've looked back down and you've checked everything, does it look good? Is it the right stitch? Is it in the right spot? Everything good? Everything checks out? Okay, great. Now do it again. So close your eyes, find the next spot and do a single crochet, and then check it out again. All good? Great. Now see if you can do 2 in a row. So close your eyes, do your single crochet, keep them closed, and move on, do another single crochet, and then check your work again. So do you have 2 single crochets? Are they in the right spots, one after another, and do they look good? If they do, great, fantastic, love that. If they don't, maybe just go back to trying 1, or just try to do it again. And that will basically just continue forever. Okay, did you get 2 in a row without looking? Fantastic. Now try to do 3 in a row. Did you do 3 in a row without looking? Awesome. Now do 4. And just keep doing that until you can crochet an entire blanket without looking down. Like I said, crocheting without looking is a lot about just kind of like trusting yourself, because really the first time that I did a stitch without looking, I did not think that I was going to be able to do it. And then I did it, I tried it, and I looked back down and I was like, oh, it looks fine. I literally did it and nothing bad happened. So then I was like, oh, yeah, I can do this. Another thing that will happen over time is you will realize that you are kind of just starting to crochet by feel rather than by looking down. Anytime something feels a little bit off, I can tell, and I have to look down on my work and fix whatever is going on down there. You can just practice and really focus on the way that your work feels in your hands and the way that the stitches are working, how your hands are moving, and just try to memorize the way that that feels whenever it's going well. And then as soon as you start to make a mistake, you're going to be able to tell, and you will know to look back down at your work, which is a question that I get a lot. A lot of people ask, well, if you're not looking down, then how can you tell if you're making a mistake? And if I make a mistake, I can feel it. I can feel the resistance on my hook. I can feel that the yarn is like not pulling correctly, the tension is too tight, or it's not going through like it usually does. So then I know I have a problem. But normally I'm just zooming along with no problems because everything feels good. This is something that I personally have practiced a lot. I've gotten very good at it over the years, and that is probably mainly because of my job. I talk to the camera quite a bit. I try to look at the camera quite a bit, and I also do live streams where I'm crocheting. I need to be able to crochet and also read the live chat and respond to people as much as I possibly can, make sure everything is looking good on the screen, and also continue working. I am also a huge fan of watching anime. I like to watch it in the original Japanese audio, so I have to read the subtitles in order to understand what's going on. And I crochet all the time. I pretty much never put this down. So while I'm watching TV, it's especially a great time to crochet. So I did have to teach myself how to read subtitles and crochet at the same time. I am interested to know how many of you guys can crochet without looking. Have you ever tried it? Have you ever thought about it? Whenever you see other people crocheting without looking, are you surprised? Is this something that you could just already naturally do? Did you teach yourself on your own? And if you did teach yourself on your own, did you kind of do it in the same way that I did? Did you even realize that you were doing it? If you can crochet without looking, just please leave a comment below. Let me know if you had any specific methods, if you did it the same way I did, if you did it in a different way. I want to hear about it. And maybe somebody else in the comments will read what you said, and that will help them out more than this video did. I gotta stop. This is getting too long, and I'm just gonna have to frog it, so. Speaking of this video, I hope that it was interesting, at least helpful, maybe, hopefully. I hope that I was able to explain. It's kind of hard because a lot of the things that I do technically are just like things that I've developed over time, and it's hard to put words to it because my hands, they just do the thing, and sometimes my brain doesn't even really understand what's going on. I did my best, and I hope that you liked it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you want more content. Subscribe to my second channel if you want to see me more often. And I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.